Okay, everyone. Hello, good evening. It's about 5 o'clock, so we're going to get started with our Voluntary Retirement Incentive informational session. You should all see on your screen right now a very brief presentation that I'm going to go over. Hello, I'm Jennifer Scholl, HR Chief of Staff at DOA. So this presentation, I'm just going to go over the agenda for tonight so you guys know what to expect as we go forward. I know that this is also, maybe a little different for some people in terms of having it on Zoom. So we just want to make sure that everyone's comfortable and knowing what to expect as we go forward, especially with the Q&A session. So let's just jump right in so we have enough time for the night. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is the agenda and the introductions. I'm going to go over who we have with us tonight, both giving presentations, and we have some people available here if there are questions that need to be asked of specific people or specific offices. We're also going to go over, as I said, a little technical aspects of Zoom, just so people understand how they can ask questions and when the questions are going to take place and all of that fun stuff. So we'll go over that. Then after we're done with this presentation, DOA HR is going to give a retirement program for the VRI overview. And then following that VRI program, we're going to have a Q&A session. We're going to allow approximately 15 minutes for those questions. And then following that question period, then ERSRI is going to have a retirement process overview. And then questions for ERSRI regarding the retirement process. Again, about 15 minutes, but we'll see what's going to happen in terms of timing. So introductions, just so everyone understands who's here tonight, we have Kyle Adamonis. She's the Executive Director of HR, and she's going to be giving the VRI program presentation very shortly. We also have Paula Cafone, who's the Deputy Personnel Administrator, Office of Employee Benefits. I know that people have a lot of questions, surrounding their benefits, and so she's here to be able to lend assistance as well. From ERSRI, we have Marianne Peronio. She is the Senior Retirement Counselor, and she's going to give the retirement presentation. And then we have Frank Karpinski, who's also here as the Executive Director of ERSRI, and then Heidi Halber as the Deputy Director of ERSRI. Again, to lend answers and their knowledge if people do have specific questions that they want to ask. And again, my name is Jennifer Scholl, HR Chief of Staff. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Zoom. So as I said, we're going to have two presentations, and during those presentations, all attendees will be muted. During the Q&A portion, the two different ones that we're going to have through the night, attendees will be able to raise their hands. So you should see somewhere on your Zoom bar, there should be a little raise hand, and you can hit that button if you have a question, if you're on a computer. And then what we'll do is we'll look and see who has questions during the Q&A session, and then we'll call on that person and say, okay, Joe Smith has a question. We will then unmute you, and then you'll be able to ask the question. And we will leave the unmute active, so you'll be able to have dialogue if you need to ask further questions or if there's some back and forth regarding the answer to your question. If you're on the phone, then your option to raise your hand is *9. So just on your keypad, hit *9. And then if we do see you, the numbers are masked except for just a few numbers. So we'll call that person out by the few numbers that we see. And then we'll unmute you, and then you'll have to unmute yourself by hitting *6 on your phone. So just keep that in mind. When we did a test, the phone does say to you if you want to unmute yourself, press *6, but just remember that you do have to have that aspect of unmuting yourself. So one note that we do want to make is that if you're on a desktop computer, you may not have a microphone to be able to ask a question. This on our February 2nd presentation, we did seemed to have an issue with hearing some of the attendees ask their questions, and we consulted with a Zoom expert, and they said that that's most likely the case, that if you're on a desktop, not every desktop has a microphone, so that may have been the issue. So if you do have a question and you're on a desktop and you're not quite sure if you have a microphone or not, you might want to call in using the phone number that was provided with the invitation. That might be a better option for you if you're unsure about being able to hear you. A couple of more things is that once the question has been answered, attendee will be remuted, so another individual can raise their hand and ask their question. Closed captioning has been enabled. So to control the closed captioning on your Zoom bar, you should be able to have if you click on live transcript, it will either put the words up, or if you don't want to see those words, they're too distracting for you, I believe that you can shut those off. And you also should be able to change it. So you should be able to make it larger or smaller if you need to. So again, we just want to make sure that because of the limits of time, that we'll only be able to allow about 15 minutes for the two sections. So 15 minutes for VRI, 15 minutes for retirement. We do want you to be aware that this is an open forum and that we ask people to ask general questions. So if you have specific personal questions about your situation, we encourage you to contact HR or ERSRI directly. I'm going to show you the contact information very shortly. It's also posted on the website and all the materials that we posted for the VRI program as well. And please be aware that this session is being recorded, and a link to the presentation will be available, and it will have a transcript enabled as well for eligible employees for you to go back and view it at your leisure. All right, so at the end of the presentation, you still have questions. We weren't able to answer your question. Then you do have a couple of resources. One is of course, HR, that we have a website. We have our phone number, our main help desk, and then we also have a general email box, so you can send questions there. Retirement at ERSRI has additional resources as well. So website, they have a general phone number, and then they have a little contact form that you can submit your questions to. Okay, so with that being said, I know that you guys are all waiting for the actual presentation, so I'm going to unshare, and then I'm going to turn that over to Kyle, and she's going to give the presentation on the VRI.
Okay, thank you, Jen. Let's see. I can find the share screen, so bear with me. Okay, can everyone see the screen? Jen, can you see the screen?
I cannot, Kyle. Let's give it a...
Okay, hold on, let's try again.
Okay.
Here we go.
There it goes.
All right.
There you go.
Here we go. I always have to remember to hit share after I put share the screen. So thanks, everybody. Good evening, and Jen, thank you for introducing everybody. I'm pleased to be here with my colleagues, both from the Human Resources, Division of Human Resources, as well as ERSRI. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today and for your long-term service to the state of Rhode Island. If it was determined that you meet the eligibility criteria for the VRI, you should have received and had a chance to review your VRI package, which includes a letter from the Division of Human Resources, your VRI application form, an overview of the VRI program, and an extensive list of frequently asked questions. Those frequently asked questions have a lot of really good information in them. Some of the things that are in the FAQs we're going to be going over tonight. And we have updated the FAQs anytime we have questions that are asked that we hadn't answered before. We'll update the FAQs, and those are available on our website at hr.ri.gov. All of the documents that you received include important information pertaining to your eligibility and your participation deadline. And it includes all the contact information for the Division of Human Resources and the Employers Retirement System of Rhode Island. So there are a lot of key considerations that you need to take into effect, and we recognize that retirement is one of the biggest decisions that any of us will ever make in our lifetime. So as you think about key considerations, the first one that comes to mind is, what is the monthly amount you'll receive from your pension? The VRI letter, which you received with your package, provides the process for making an official inquiry to the Employees Retirement System of Rhode Island, as does the FAQ. And today you're going to have the benefit of hearing from our colleagues at ERSRI, whose presentation will answer many of your questions. Second is Social Security benefits. A consideration is when to begin your Social Security benefits based on the strategy that will give you the most expected income over your lifetime. You can visit the Social Security Administration's website at www.ssa.gov/benefit/retirement. There's a lot of really good information that you'll find there. With regard to health insurance coverage, always something that is a concern to people going into retirement. If you have at least 20 years of state service and you're at least 59 years of age, but not yet age 65, you'll receive an 80% state subsidy toward your retiree health benefits. If you have 20 years of service and you've reached age 65, in other words, you're Medicare eligible, the 80% state subsidy applies to the cost of a benchmark Medigap plan. To obtain detailed information on options for health insurance, I highly recommend you attend one of our Office of Employee Benefits monthly informational meetings. Meetings are scheduled for March 4th, April 1st, and May 6th, 2021. And registration is required for those meetings. They take place at 1 p.m. They are online meetings. You can go to register at www.employeebenefits.ri.gov. When you go to the website, you'll also see that presentation materials are available on the website. And there's a lot of great information there for you. So again, I highly recommend you attend one of those sessions and get information with regard to your retiree benefits as well. Lastly, other investment income. You need to consider other investments or income that you may have for retirement, whether you want to consider part-time work, whether you've invested separately, whether you have some other retiree benefit from previous employment. So all things to consider. VRI deadline dates, you'll see those in the package that you received. The deadline dates are very important. You must adhere to the deadline dates. For 20% longevity recipients, if you're entitled to longevity at 20% level, you must submit written notice of your election to retire under the VRI on or before March 15th, 2021, and you must designate a retirement date effective on or before April 15th. For those with 17.5% or 15% longevity, you must submit written notice of your election to retire under the VRI on or before April 15th, 2021, and you must designate a retirement date effective on or before May 15th. For all other longevity recipients, that's at the 10%, 7.5%, and 5%, you need to submit your written notice of your election on or before May 15th, and you must designate a retirement date effective on or before June 15th. Again, really pay attention. You must adhere to these deadlines. Your application and agreement form must be completed and submitted to the Division of Human Resources on or before the deadline date. You can see a picture here of what your voluntary retirement incentive application and agreement looks like. This is the form that you need to complete and send back to Human Resources. Please follow the instructions on the bottom of the form because you have a couple of ways to submit your application and agreement. Please be sure to fill in the effective date of retirement and then sign and provide your state employee ID. You can get your state employee ID if you go to PayStub.RI and you look at your pay stub. You'll see that your employee ID is on the top of your pay stub. And then once we receive your application and agreement, then I will sign your application and agreement and we will send a fully signed copy back to you. A few important reminders for you. The voluntary retirement incentive is irrevocable. Once you've signed and submitted your form, you must retire on the date elected. You cannot revoke your retirement. You cannot stay. Once you've signed that VRI form, you must retire on the date you've elected. Late submittals will not be accepted. Again, you have to pay attention to the dates that you have to have that in and the date by which you need to retire. Extensions are very limited and they must be requested by the agency director due to operational need and approved by the DOA director and by myself, the personnel administrator. So again, that means any extension has to come from your agency director due to operational need and approved by the DOA director and me. An extension will not be granted prior to receipt of the employee's application and agreement with a date that is on or before the employee's required retirement deadline. So you must get your application and agreement in, and then we will review any extension that comes in after that. Vacation, sick, and personal accruals. For vacation, I know these are all very important to all of you in terms of what you'll receive and what you won't receive when you retire. So with regard to vacation, the VRI will not impact how unused vacation pay is provided upon retiring. As indicated on your pay stub, on PayStub.RI, vacation balance hours that are in the current year and the prior year 2 buckets will be paid out. Vacation hours in prior year have no cash value if not discharged prior to retirement, and they will not be paid. Those are your use or lose. So I will show you in just a few minutes an example of what that looks like on your pay stub. But again, vacation balance hours in your current year and prior year 2 buckets are those that will get paid out. Vacation hours in your prior year have no cash value. With regard to sick time, the VRI does not impact your entitlement for payment of unused sick leave upon retirement. For information regarding payment of accrued sick leave upon retirement, please see the provisions in your union contract or the Personnel Rules Section 5.0626. That will provide you with all the information relative to how sick time is paid out. With regard to the personal days that are granted at the beginning of each year, those are the 4 personal days you receive. Those are use or lose and will not be paid out. So if you haven't used them on the date that you retire, they are not paid out. RO and R1, deferred and frozen vacation hours. With regard to those, the RO and R1 days, if you have RO or R1 hours from 2010 and 2011, up to 4 days of the RO and up to 4 days of the R1 hours will be paid upon retirement. Those are paid at the hourly rate associated with the R hours, tough to say. Those are paid at that actual rate at that time. With regard to deferred days, those are the Sunland days. If you have any hours in the deferred bucket, and we'll show you that as well, also known as Sunland days, this amount will be paid out upon retirement at your current rate of pay. And finally, with regard to frozen vacation, if you have any hours in the frozen vacation bucket, this amount will be paid out upon retirement at your current rate of pay. So to show you an example of what that looks like, this is a screenshot of pay stub RI, and this is an example here. So if you look at the top where it says personal time balance, and there's 28 hours there, this amount will not be paid out upon retirement. Now, if you look down and look at the vacation hours, you'll see on the top prior year 2, that amount is paid out upon retirement. Prior year is the amount that is not paid out upon retirement. And then you'll see the current year is paid out. It's kind of like that sandwich that, if you think of it that way, the top and bottom are paid out and the middle is not paid out. With regard to, you can see where defer vacation is. If you have any hours under defer, that amount does get paid out upon retirement. And then if you scroll down a little bit, look down to frozen vacation, that amount is paid out. And then there's the RO and the R1 days from 2010 and 2011, and those will be paid out. Just a reminder to everyone with regard to time that you may have accrued and that is not going to be paid out. You need to go through the regular process that you normally would go through if you want to ask for vacation time or any other time. So that would go through the same process as the normal process you would have to submit to your supervisor for any time off for them. And that brings to a conclusion my presentation. I want to say thanks again for your long-term service to the state of Rhode Island. For those of you who decide to take the VRI, we wish you good health and happiness in your retirement. And for those employees who decide to remain with the state, we look forward to our continued work together with you. And then I will open that up for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Kyle. Okay, so I'm going to now run the Q&A session. And so I do see I have a couple of people's hands are raised already. So I'm going to start right at the top with Bob Aiello. So Bob, I'm going to hit allow to talk and I'm going to ask you to unmute. You should be able to do that on your end. Hello, Bob.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can, great.
Okay. I wasn't able to attend the health benefit meeting on February 4th because the link did not work. As a result, now I have to wait another month to attend the March meeting. Time is passing and I need to be able to speak with someone directly regarding my own personal medical situation. I have all the literature, but I need assistance determining the best fit for me.
Hi, Bob. This is Paula Cafone. I oversee employee benefits.
Okay.
And you can call our office. And one of the counselors will be very happy to speak with you. The number is 574-8530.
Okay, is there anybody specific that I would inquire or?
When you call, there's a phone tree and it tells you, it'll mention retiree, that you're interested in retiree coverage, and it will go to the people that handle retirees.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Great.
Thanks, Paula.
Yeah, thanks, Paula. Okay, so I'm going to move on to Linda Coletta. So, oh, hold on.
Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, I have a question on how much the amount of the VRI will be taxed. How is that taxed? Is it going to be, well, I'll give you an example. If the VRI amount is $30,000 and your previous income for last year was $80,000, how is that VRI going to be taxed? Just on the 30,000, or will it be taxed on 80,000 plus 30,000?
So I will answer that in general, and there is some information in the FAQs as well. Every individual is different based on their tax status, and however, the voluntary retirement incentive is taxed as an incentive, and so that's taxed at a rate. I think I have to get the rate at 5% rate, and I'll have to get that for you and get back to you.
Okay, so it's just on the VRI amount?
Yes, you're being taxed on the VRI. Obviously, that's income to you, but all the taxes will be taken out of that VRI. But that does become income for this year for you.
Right, so when it becomes income, see, that's my concern. When it becomes income, is it being taxed on $80,000 plus the $30,000 at 5.5%?
No, it's taxed. It's actually taxed. Tom, do you want? I can see Tom unmuting. Do you want? It is taxed based on the VRI amount at that rate.
Okay, so it would be just taxed on the example of $30,000, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Want me to step in, Kyle, for 1 second? Can you hear
Yeah,
me?
that's fine, Tom. Please do.
Okay. So yes, ma'am, you'd be taxed on the 30,000, but when your total, you will continue to be taxed on regular income for the rest of this year. So at the end of the year, you will have paid taxes on 80,000 plus 30,000, depending what your full pay is for this calendar year. Has nothing to do with what you made last year. It will be based on this calendar year. So if you take the pension, you'll start getting taxed on your pension. And the combination of total pay over the course of this calendar year, that 30,000 included, will have been taxed. And likely, at the end of the year, you may get somewhat of a more of a refund, but that depends on your own personal tax situation. But at the time, you will be taxed on the 30,000 only, and then you'll continue to pay taxes on any other income, such as your retirement income, through the rest of the year.
Right, and then for the previous year, before you take that VRI, you will be taxed specifically.
It will have nothing to do with your prior year income, because you're being paid that in the current year. It'll be taxed in the current year. So what you made last year has nothing to do with how you'll be taxed this year.
Right, so the following year, you'll be taxed on your retirement plus that 30,000.
Correct. You'll be taxed on whatever income you make in the current year. But when that's all totaled at the end of the year, potentially you could potentially get a refund. I won't say you will, but that depends on your own tax situation. But you could get part of this back because you'll be taxed on 30,000 at one time.
Right, so it's true to say that I'd actually be taxed twice on that same dollar amount, $30,000.
No, you will pay
No.
pay taxes on the $30,000, and then your regular retirement income, having nothing to do with the VRI, you will have taxes taken out of that. The ERSRI, we'll talk about that in a minute, but most retirement income is taxable, so you'll be taxed on that as you start getting those checks in the future. The 30,000 is separate and apart from that retirement income.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, Linda. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to the next person. It's Shambib. I think that's how you say it. So I'm gonna allow you to talk. Okay, go ahead.
That's my email address. This is
Oh,
Steve.
yeah.
This is Steve Blazer.
Go ahead.
And, so I put in to retire on April 15th, but I would like to have an extension through the end of September, which my supervisor is in favor of as well. So when will I have the official decision that I can work through the end of September? Because this will this will determine when I apply for Medicare. Should I apply for Medicare beginning April, or can I wait till September or October?
Well, your supervisor will need to send in the request for the extension based on a need within the agency. So
Which I
once we
believe he
get
already
that,
has. Yeah,
please.
he already has done that.
Okay, so if he sent that in and we received your application, then it should happen fairly quickly. We've gotten a few extensions and we're also getting a lot of the applications in. So if he's already sent that in, then that means it's under review and we should be able to get back to you very quickly.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, the next person that we have is Bethany. So Bethany, I'm going to ask you to unmute and see if we can hear you. Hi, Bethany.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I was looking at some of the paperwork I've gotten. It says request an eligibility determination. And if I'm considering it, it says to complete the short online form. I'm almost positive the department chair who I'm talking to tonight will want me to get an extension till at least the end of the semester, which would be the end of June. If I fill out this form, do I need to wait to know if I've gotten an extension before I do the eligibility online form?
We ask the employee to send in their application prior to the request for an extension coming in. So you should talk with your department chair before then to make sure that they're sending in an extension. Again, as I had mentioned, the extensions are very limited and it needs to be due to agency need. So, but you need to make sure that you get your application in on or before the deadline date, and your application needs to come into us prior to our approving the extension.
Okay. And also, if I'm granted the extension, will I still get the incentive, the same amount, or does that change?
Yes, you will. No, your voluntary retirement incentive would be the same. And once an extension was approved, I would send a letter back so that you would need to say that you accept that. And then we would put that with your VRI application. But your voluntary retirement incentive is the same. You would not get it until you actually retire.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bethany. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the person, and that is Liz. So Liz, asked you to unmute. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead, Liz.
Yes. Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Paula Confone was speaking and she mentioned the telephone number in regards to the medical. She said 574 and then it went off. I didn't write the whole thing down.
I'm sorry that you didn't hear me, Liz. This is Paula. It's,
No, I heard you, but I didn't finish writing it down. And then
Oh,
the
okay.
number that came up on the bottom when you were speaking it went away.
all right,
But
no
you were
problem.
fine.
I'm going to give it again. It's 574
Yes.
8530.
And one more quick question. So I'm looking at my longevity percentage. It says 17.5%. Is that based on my base salary? Because I've been here over 33 years.
Your longevity is based on your service. Longevity did end quite a few years ago in terms of the longevity. I believe that was in 2011.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, but
So longevity.
I'm confused. You know the paper that you mailed out for the VRI retirement? It says, according to the state's records, you you may be eligible for the voluntary retirement. The Division of Human Resources has followed information on file for you. And then it said my longevity percentage is 17.5%. And then the longevity amount is $8,696.45. And then the incentive amount, $17,392.90. I thought it would be higher because I have over 33 years in state.
If you have a question with regard to the incentive, I would suggest you send an email into us, and then we can actually look at your history as well. But
Okay,
it is based on your years of service, and it is based on your years of service up until the 2011 date.
Okay.
But we'd be happy to take a look at that if you send us an email. We
I
can
thought
follow
they
up with you.
based it on how many years of service that you've had. I mean, that you've completed.
Yes, it is based on years of service.
Kyle, can I
So
say?
we can take, sure.
I also have 33 years and I'm in 17.5% as well. This is Tom Mulaney. It is, as Kyle said, longevity stopped in 2011. So whatever you had at that point is what the cutoff was. So you and I were both at 17.5 as of 2011. We never made it to the 20%, which would have probably come a couple of years later. And therefore we were locked in at 17.5%. So the fact that you have 33 years does not qualify you to go to a higher level because the legislature froze longevity in 2011.
So if I started in 1987, so it would go from
Exactly the year I
1987
started.
to 2011, correct?
Right. So you made it to 20 years, you hit 17.5%. So in 2007, to get to 25%, you would have gotten that in 2012. Longevity was frozen in 2011. So that's why you got stuck. You got frozen at 17.5%. If they hadn't frozen it in 2012, you would have gone to 20%. But because it was frozen, you and I both got stuck at 17.5%. So
Goodness.
frozen. So nobody from 2011 on moved on to a higher level of longevity. Everybody was frozen at that level in that year. And those who didn't have longevity will not get longevity in the future.
So are they going to unfreeze us?
Nope. Nope.
This is awful.
That was done in 2011. So it's been that way for 10 years now.
Yeah. Liz, like Kyle said, if you need more information, then I certainly welcome you to email DOA at the HR help desk, and we'll look into that for you a little bit more if you have further questions.
Okay, so I'll be in my building tomorrow. So you said I emailed the help desk.
Yep, the HR help desk. So at the end of the first presentation, there was an email address, and as well, it's posted on every document that's been given to you so far. It's on the FAQs. You'll find the contact information for DOA HR there. It's on the HR website as well.
Okay, all right, you've answered my questions.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna take a couple of more questions. I'm gonna move on to Chuck. Let's see. All right, Chuck. Can we hear you, Chuck? All right. Unfortunately, we're not able to hear Chuck. So Chuck, so sorry, but I'm gonna remute you and we're gonna move on to the next person. Again, we encourage you to get in touch with HR if you do have a question. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to Cindy and unmute Cindy.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Quick question. If I put in my notice, I'm in the May 15th that I have to put my letter in by, am I still allowed to utilize my time after that? My vacation, sick time, personal time after that May 15th letter if my date is and retirement date is at a later time?
You would be required to put in for any vacation time that you wanted to use. You would need to submit under the normal process. So you'd need to submit to your supervisor for any vacation time off.
Okay, can I use sick time after that? So if on May 15th and I'm working until June 15th, can I use sick time from May 15th till June 15th?
Again, that would be, so using sick time is if you actually are out due to an illness. So you would need to go through the process in terms of using any of your sick time as well.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to take one more question for this round, and then we're going to move on to the ERSRI presentation with questions after that. So I'm going to see Betty, and we'll take her question.
Me?
Yes, hi Betty.
Hi, this is hopefully the right forum, but I'm curious about how long does it take for your retirement payments to actually start?
I think that's a question for ERSRI. I don't know if anyone's on that can
Yeah,
answer.
this is Marianne.
Yes, hi Marianne.
Hi, so we're going to cover that in my presentation.
Okay, that's how sorry, I always have to skip ahead.
Yes.
I apologize.
Are you willing to wait?
Oh, yes.
Don't be sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, so I do know that a couple more people have questions with their hands raised, but we do apologize. We want to move on to the next session just to make sure we give Marianne time to give all of that great information that I know you guys are just hungry for. So we're going to allow her to present, and then we'll have another Q&A session following that. So Marianne, I think Kyle unshared her screen. So if you want to share your screen, you can go ahead. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you, Jen and Kyle. Okay. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see my screen and hear me well. So let's get started. So for the retirement, once you've received, as Kyle went through, the enrollment packet, which many of you should have already, and you're at the point now where you have all the information and you're seriously thinking about retiring, this is what you would need to do for retirement. So you'll go to ERSRI's website, www.ersri.org, and you'll go to the 2021 Voluntary Retirement Incentive tab. And in that section is a form for you to complete. It's called 2021 VRI Pension Eligibility Request, which I'm going to show you on the next few slides. So this is where you'll go on the website. Right here, you'll click into the 2021 Voluntary Retirement Incentive. And if you scroll down on my next slide, you'll complete and submit this online form. So it's a very simple form. One of the key dates here, one of our questioners in the prior session was asking Kyle about getting the online form in. So when you send in your agreement, or even prior to sending in your application and agreement, if you know that you're serious about taking advantage of the VRI and you have an approximate date, let's say you're thinking it's April 15th, you'll go ahead and insert that date here. And then there's two dials at the bottom, very important that you select the appropriate one for you. The first dial is if you already have a retirement packet that you received in the last year. You'll click this first dial. The second dial you'll select if you've received the information from Department of Administration that you are eligible and you need retirement packet. You don't have a retirement packet. You'll click this second dial and then submit. It's a really simple form. I've actually helped some of my members go to the website, and before I'm even done explaining what they need to do, they've already filled out the form. It takes seconds. It's very quick and easy, but let me tell you why you want to take the investment of a few minutes to do it. It actually allows us to prioritize your request, and it also enables us to give you better service. Why? Because there's 60,000 members in the retirement system that could potentially reach out to us in any given day. And we want to make sure that you're a priority. We make everyone a priority, but we need to know that you need something from us so that we're enabling you to make an informed decision. So what happens? When are you going to receive your information? And this is what this slide will help us explain to you. So basically, you submit your online form, which takes minutes. We receive your request. It gets assigned to a counselor, so you have a person that's going to help you through retirement. The counselor will reach out to you if they have questions. They may have everything they need and they just proceed and prepare your packet. If you've received a retirement packet in the last year, you're going to return the forms that were in that packet. You can go on the web portal and run some additional estimates if you so choose. And if the date on your paperwork has changed, feel free to just cross it out and enter that date on the forms. It's informational for retirement just to have an idea on when you're going. You'll be setting the process that Kyle had explained. You'll be submitting and deciding on your date by submitting that application and agreement, and then of course working it out with your employer in terms of whatever you need to do around vacation time, et cetera, et cetera. So now, when will you receive your packet if you don't have one and you selected the second dial on that online form? It will be 2 weeks before your deadline. So for example, if you're in the 20% longevity and you have a deadline of March 15th, you will receive your retirement packet from retirement by March 1st. So it's 2 weeks prior to your deadline. And that way you have all the information you need about your estimated pension benefit amounts to make an informed decision. Now, once you've received your packet, what should you do with your retirement packet? So I'm going to shortcut to what it is you need to do. Now, there's a set of forms that you, as the member in the retirement system, will complete and submit to retirement before your last day of work. Very important, it's highlighted. Before your last day of work, you're going to send back your original completed retirement forms by US mail to this address before your last day, 50 Service Avenue, 2nd floor, Warwick, 02886. Now, application for retirement, single page form, very important. If we do not receive your application for retirement before your last day, you're at risk that we will not be able to pay you as of your effective date of retirement. The second form is the option election form. I am going to be reviewing a slide that will be very helpful to you in filling out this form. I'm going to go over your payment options. If you happen to select a payment option where you're naming somebody as a survivor, they call that option 1 and option 2, we will need just a photocopy of that joint and survivor person that you name's birth certificate or passport, just a clean photocopy. The next form is certificate of tax withholding preference. Now, the information, the estimate you will receive on the option election form will be very helpful for you in reaching out to your tax advisor, CPA accountant, who helps you with your taxes, and have them give you a recommendation on how to complete the certificate of tax withholding preference. What you're trying to do there is avoid tax penalties for not withholding enough. And remember, you're moving into retirement. It's a different situation for you that you're not, comfortable because it's all new. So definitely work with your tax advisor to provide some assistance in completing this form. Request for direct deposit is also a required form. We want to know where to put your money, which bank, whether it's checking or savings. It's your choice. So this form enables you to do that. The only thing we ask you to do in addition is attach a voided check, just a blank check, write void across it, or a letter from your bank if you're selecting savings as your option. The next form is called Basic Group Life Insurance Election Form. This is in your retirement packet if you have life coverage while you're working. So some of you may not have this form in your packet. The last form that you'll complete is a beneficiary designation form, very important. And we're going to talk about a little further in how important this form is regarding your death benefit being paid out. So you want to make sure that you have at least one primary and one contingent beneficiary listed on the designation of beneficiary form. It's a form that requires you to sign in front of a notary. So please make sure the form is notarized before you submit it with all your paperwork to retirement. In these COVID times, I'm finding most of my members are working with the bank, making an appointment and having their form notarized. So those are the 5 or 6 forms that you'll complete and mail back to retirement. The next and last form I'll cover is the employer certification of retirement and final wages. This is the form that if you will be retiring, you've made your decision, you're retiring, you're just going to sign page 3 and give the full form to your employer to complete now. I've already received employer certifications back from some of my VRI people that have already made their decisions, they're committed, and I've already received their forms back from their employer. So definitely something you want to make sure that you follow through and agree on when you're retiring through the application and agreement with Department of Administration. And once they've accepted and sent you back the signed copy, if you know you're definitely going, obviously they've approved it, you will want to give this form to your employer. And then last at the bottom of this slide are just some informational only items that will be included in your retirement packet. Now, if you've been divorced during the time you worked for the state, I will bring to your attention only if you are required to split your pension with a former spouse, would we need these additional documents. It would be a final court-entered divorce judgment and property settlement agreement. And you would submit that back with these 5 or 6 forms to retirement when you return your paperwork. Now, if you need help completing your retirement forms, you'll go to our website, the same section, 2021 Voluntary Retirement Incentive, and there's a very helpful guide here, right at the midway down the page where you'll click. It says if you would like more information on how to fill out the forms, you'll click here. And this is what will come up when you click here. It's a presentation that takes you step by step, very simply through what you need to do to complete your retirement form. So definitely utilize this. It's a very helpful resource. You'll also have a counselor when they mail you your packet, or if you have your packet within the last year, you'll have your counselor's name. You can reach out to them if you have questions on things that you just would like to review. So you have 2 opportunities to use the website, and also if you have a question that's not addressed that you would like to talk to your counselor about. Now, the next few slides are very informational for you in terms of understanding how we calculate your pension. And then we go over the 4 options that you'll have to choose from on which payment option you would like on the option election form. Now, calculating your pension benefit. We take your cumulative service credit factor. What is that? That's your cumulative percentage for each year of service in the state. So based on your schedule, you will receive a certain percentage that gets accumulated over all your years of service. So we're going to take that cumulative percentage and we're going to multiply it by a salary average. How do we get your salary average? It's either a 3-year average. If you happen to be an A, you had your 10 years of state employment by July 105, minimum of 10 years. Or if you're beyond that, you're no longer just a straight A and you're an AB or a B, it will be a 5-year average. So I will tell you, most of us right now coming to retire, we have a 5-year average salary. So we're going to take your 130 consecutive pay periods, your highest consecutive pay periods, right up to your date of retirement, if those are your highest, or if you're 130 or earlier in your career, we will take those, multiply by your cumulative percentage, and derive an annualized pension benefit. If we divide by 12 months, that's how we arrive at your estimated monthly gross pension benefit. It is taxable, both federal and state. That's why you want to talk to your accountant and giving you guidance on how to prepare the tax election tax withholding form. The next slide is the payment options. Very important for you to understand this because you're going to be selecting one of these options on your option election form, which is one of the required pieces of retirement paperwork. Service retirement allowance is the first option. Service retirement allowance is the full benefit amount. Once you choose this option, you can never make a change. You're locked in for your retirement. So you want to choose carefully. It's the full amount. It's your cumulative service credit percentage, your service credit factor percentage times your 5-year average salary divided by 12 months. That's what you would receive every month for your lifetime. When you pass, the monthly amount ends. No monthly pension is transferred to a person upon your passing. So that's the service retirement allowance. The second and third option on this slide are survivor options. These are the options where you can name somebody at retirement in order to leave them a pension benefit. So let's talk about option 1 first, the second one on the slide. It's called joint and survivor 100% option. It's an option that is actuarially reduced based on your age as the member and the age of the person you name as your survivor for this pension option. So you're going to get reduced and you'll receive that actuarially reduced monthly pension every month while you're living. And then when you pass, your benefit will transfer to the person you named at retirement for the rest of their lifetime until they pass, and then the monthly amount ends. That's called a 100% survivor option. It's the option that typically people will consider seriously if they would like their household income upon their passing to remain the same. So that's an option that people will choose if it's very important to them that their household income remains the same relative to their pension benefit. The third option on the slide is also a survivor option called joint and survivor 50% option. If you choose this option, you will be reduced actuarially by your age and the age of the person you name as your survivor, but it does not reduce you by as much. It gives you more to live on while you're living every month, but when you pass away, it transfers to your survivor only half, 50% of your pension will transfer to your survivor for the rest of their life until they pass away, and then the benefit will end. That's called joint and survivor 50%. Now under option 1, joint and survivor 100%, and option 2, the joint and survivor 50%, you're allowed a one-time change only anytime if you take option 1 or option 2, the second and third one here on the slide. You can move between the options once from either option, or you can go up from either option to the ERSRI option, this first one, the full amount. But you can never go from either option down to the ERSRI plus. That's not allowed. Now, the only time you're not allowed to make that one-time change is if you're going through divorce proceedings, because that is done through the courts. That's the only time. And then the last option you have is the ERSRI plus. But again, this is not available to everyone. If you're already over 62, the opportunity to take the option is no longer available. Or if you're a Schedule A or AB member. So it's not everybody, it only applies to certain members. This is the option that once you choose it, just like the ERSRI, you can never make a change. You're locked in for your retirement. You'll receive more money up front, and then the month after your 62nd birthday, you get reduced by a national average and you end up at that lower payment amount the month after your 62nd birthday for the rest of your life till you pass away, and then the benefit ends. So those are the 4 payment options that many of you will have, but most of you will have these first 3 that I just explained. So when you get your retirement packet, or if you already have your packet that you received in the last year, you're going to find in that packet a form that's required to submit on that list that I reviewed earlier, where you are going to be selecting one of these choices at retirement. Death benefit, I promised you when we talked about the beneficiary designation form that we would go over this. There will be something paid out upon your passing, irregardless of which of those payment options we just reviewed that you selected. It's called a death benefit. It's a one-time lump payment paid upon your passing to your primary beneficiary on file with the retirement office, that notarized beneficiary form that we talked about. The most it would ever be would be $16,000 if you have 20 years of service or more. And it would be $16,000 in your first year of retirement, or if you passed an act of passing before you came to retire. And it declines 25% for every year you're retired, but it never goes any lower than $4,000 minimum. So if you live a long, healthy retirement, which we all hope to, there will be a one-time payment of $4,000 paid upon your passing to your primary beneficiary on file. So you always want to make sure you keep a current beneficiary designation form on file with the retirement office. We always recommend at least one primary and at least one contingent, because if you pass away with your primary person, now you have a fallback person to receive that payment in the event you and your primary pass together. Now, this will get at the question that one of the attendees in the prior session had asked. So receiving your pension payments, your first pension payment will be at least 3 months after retirement, but it is retroactively paid back to your date of retirement. Each payment you receive is direct deposited into your bank of choice, either checking or savings. Now, a lot of you have your work email. As I'm talking to people, I'm seeing that many of you still have your work email on file with retirement. So we recommend at this point, you go onto the web portal or through the change of information form, which is on our ERSRI forms on our website, to update your email address, to authorize us to update it to your personal email, so that once you retire, you'll receive every month a notification that your pension deposit is available to be reviewed online. It's a earning statement, your direct deposit stub. Similar to what we get now as state employees, we can go in, we can look at the gross, net of taxes, our earnings, our pay statements. Similar in retirement, you'll go on to our web portal and you'll have the ability to access your earnings statements every month when you receive your deposit. Now, how often will you get paid in retirement? We're used to getting paid as state employees every pay period. So it's an adjustment. It'll be once a month. It'll be the last business day of the month, last business day of the month. So it has to be a Monday through Friday. If for some reason the last day of the month happens to fall on a weekend, like it will be in February, on February 28th, it's a Sunday, our retirees will receive their deposit on Friday, February 26th. And if you're curious, because you're getting ready to retire, if you view under our publications and reports on our website, the Compass Fall Winter 2020 communication, there's a wonderful benefit payment schedule that shows you 2021 upcoming payment dates. So highly recommend, if you wanted a little cheat sheet to know every month exactly when your deposit's going into your bank, feel free to do that. So finally, what are the next steps after you receive your packet and you've gone on to our website and reviewed how to complete the forms and you got everything together and you're getting ready to take the next step? So you'll go to our website under the 2021 Voluntary Retirement Incentive tab, and you'll go midway down the page and click open the Complete Your Retirement Paperwork document, fill out all your forms, reach out to your counselor if you have a specific question on something, given your situation, and then mail all your completed original retirement forms to Employees Retirement System at this address listed here. It's also on your forms before your last day of work. But you can get your forms in up to a year before you retire. So if you know now you're going in June, I would get your paperwork in now while it's fresh in your mind. You look at the presentation, you fill everything out, you make your decisions, submit all your paperwork. Then you just have that one final form, if you get all that in, to make sure you give the employer's certification of retirement and final wages to your employer. Once you've signed page 3, you give the complete form to them. And we recommend to do it now if you know you're going. Give them that form, they will get it back to us. And then we have a way, because you filled out that online form for Employees Retirement System, we have a way to keep track that we've received your employer's certification from your employer and that we have all of your retirement paperwork on file. And now we're just waiting for your final payrolls to post into retirement so we can process your pension and you can have a enjoyable retirement. So I hope this was helpful. We're up for questions at this point.
Great. Thank you so much, Marianne.
You're so welcome, Jen.
I'm going to go to our attendees, and the first person is Amy Zimmerman. So Amy, I'm going to unmute you.
Yep. Hi there. So,
Hi, Amy.
my question has to do with, and I don't know if you can cover this yet, but I recall a discussion with health benefits that the best thing to do if you're going to retire is to try to retire at the end of the month, because for someone between 60 and 65 or under 65, if you want to continue the health coverage for yourself as a retiree and not have a gap, you would need to retire like the last day of the month because it starts the first day of the next month.
So we always recommend our members attend one of those sessions that Paula Cofone had mentioned, because you are going to be looking to time your date of retirement with when your new health coverage picks up. Most of my members do that. That's part of their planning in deciding which date, because you have a deadline when you have to go, but you might pick a date in and around that. It doesn't have to be the 15th of the month. You may end up deciding to go the end of the prior month because of health coverage.
Yeah, that was my question, because I was sort of thinking, of going, if you have to go by when you have to, but all the dates are mid-month. So they don't really correspond with keeping continuous health insurance and not having to COBRA for 2 weeks or whatever the case may be. So yeah. You're saying that I'm just trying to confirm that because if it makes a difference of 2 weeks, it's an important 2-week difference to know about.
Yes. So I recommend whenever I counsel any of my members that they make sure that they understand when depending on the date they're thinking of selecting, that they know when their active coverage will end and their retiree coverage will pick up. I think that's important if you're not interested in doing COBRA.
Yeah, so, and is it, I can email this or wait to listen to the next session in March, although I'm trying to figure this out sooner than that if possible, but is it true that the retiree coverage starts at the beginning, like the first of every month?
Yeah, that's my understanding, but as Paula had mentioned, I would feel free to reach out. She has special counselors that deal with retiree health and they can guide you appropriately. But Paula, if you have anything more to add, feel free.
So I will, on a general sort of basis, for people to recognize that as an active employee, you pay your health benefits by pay period. So although you might leave on a certain date, and, you know, just looking very quickly, if somebody was to leave, you have to leave by April 15th, that first group. So if somebody was to leave on the 15th, they would be covered for health insurance through the 24th of April, because that's the end of the pay period. You would be picked up on the retiree coverage on May 1st. So there would be a 6-day gap, and that's where COBRA comes into play. So I understand that some people don't want to elect COBRA. You can elect COBRA after the fact. And again, I don't want this meeting to be all about retiree benefits, but COBRA is certainly something that's available to people. It's the same coverage that you will have as an active employee, and it's prorated for the month. There's more information on the Office of Employee Benefits website if you want to look at the COBRA. But just on a general basis, to understand that as an active employee, your health benefits can go beyond the date of termination because it goes to the last date of the pay period.
So Paula, can you just quickly answer? Thank you. And then I'll let someone else go on. Can you please, for someone who has to be out by May 15th?
So if you had to be out by May 15th, and so the Friday is the 14th, that's the first week of a pay period, you would be covered through May 22nd.
So no matter what, it's never continuous. It's never going to fall continuous with when you're.
If you
Hiring
leave
when you
on
pick
those
up.
dates, excuse me, yeah, you're correct. If you leave on the dates because they're the middle of the month, they don't
Okay.
take you to the end of the month. So
Okay.
I guess if you wanted to leave on, if you were leaving on anywhere from April 20, some people might work on Sunday,